I want to relive the morning of Saturday, January 11th, 2025, when I got the call. And because I'm probably going to forget all this in 20 years, 30 years if I'm still alive. But what I was always told is to obviously keep my phone on and the ringer on. And so I did that very easy. But what I also did is at night when I went to sleep, I turned my ringer volume to max because I wanted to assume that I'm sleeping so hard I cannot hear the phone ring, and I wanted to make sure I heard the phone ring. But in the daytime, obviously, I'd have the volume at a normal level. But I was told that the call would most likely come in during the middle of the night, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Understandably, no complaints. And they said the first call you're going to get, you're going to be asked to simply come into the hospital and be on standby, sort of like the backup patient. Because before anyone can get a transplant of any kind, there's a series of preliminary testing that's done. They draw your blood, and one of the tests it was an HIV test. I remember that, seeing that. I am HIV negative. It's good to know. And but it's like, for example, if you're running a fever, they can't do surgery on you. And so there's a number of things that would not allow them to do a surgery. So that's why they typically call in a backup patient, which I'm assuming they did for me. And there was probably someone out in the hallway or in a room nearby ready to go in case one of my preliminary exams came back negative. So that morning, Saturday morning, January 11th, I woke up at 8 a.m. because I had 3 errands to run. And when I have errands to run, I plan my day the night before so I get my route in my mind. And I can't remember the first 2 errands. What did I do? I know they were important to me, but I remember the last errand. I simply had to go to the grocery store, pick up a few things. And when I got home, I pulled into the driveway. I backed into the driveway so to unload the groceries. And so I backed in, turned off the vehicle, and I exchanged a couple of messages with a buddy of mine. We made arrangements to meet Monday. And there was a tiny issue with my wife's car. My wife drives a Honda, and this particular friend of mine, he spent 20 years working at the Honda dealership as a auto repair guy. So he's very familiar with all of the Honda models. And good guy. And so I was exchanging a couple of messages with him and like arranging a time to meet. He said, yeah, come over Monday and we'll take care of it. And not more than just a few minutes later, it was probably, to be exact, 10:55 a.m. And I got a call. It was a Florida number. Because when I looked at the caller ID, I saw Florida, and I was thinking, I don't know anyone, probably the wrong number. Because they told me the call would come from a Virginia number. And I remember then, so I always expected it to be a Virginia number. So when I saw the caller ID, it said Florida, and I thought, okay, just wrong number. So I picked it up, and said hello. And it was a lady, she's very upbeat. She says, "Is this Dakota Patterson?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "We have a kidney for you." And at that moment, I wasn't excited. I assumed I was simply being called in to be a backup. And so I was happy that that's a step forward. And because I was told you're only called in once to be a backup, the standby patient. And so I clarified with her, am I being told to come in to be a backup? Which I was okay with it. That's a step forward. She said, no, you are actually getting a kidney. Surgery is scheduled for 5 p.m. How soon can you be at the hospital? And that was a surreal moment. I went, what? She said, yeah. And I said, well, I only live like 10 minutes away. I could be there in 20 minutes. She said, great. She said, have you had anything to eat today? I said, no, actually, I'm just about to go in and prepare me a breakfast. 4 hard-boiled eggs and with an apple. I'd already had my coffee, my morning coffee, so I was good there. And that just shows how anxious I was to get my errands. It was 3 errands. I didn't even take the time to eat. I just drank my coffee and was out the door. And but I'm usually not that hungry. I just eat just out of sort of like because I have to. I've never been a breakfast person. I just drink coffee, and I do get hungry at noon. So that's how I've been all my life. Well, when I was a kid, I ate breakfast, but I guess I grew out of that. So that's when it hit me. She said, nope. And she said, the kidney is from a significantly younger person. That's the word she used, significantly younger person. And I went, wow. And I was happy and sad at the same time. I'm happy I'm getting a kidney, but it's just natural. We were sad to see a young person lose their life, but it happens. Accidents happen. And I'm assuming probably was a car accident. That's what I'm assuming. And so I got out of my Jeep, and my first priority was to unload these groceries and get the cold stuff in the refrigerator. Just get it in there and just leave the rest on the counter. And I was moving a little fast, just even though the surgery is not till 5. But yeah, I want to be there as soon as possible. But anyway, she asked me if I had eaten anything yet, and I said no. She said, don't eat. And she said, when is the last time you ate? I said, oh, it was about between 10:30 last night. She said, perfect. And at this point, I wasn't hungry, so I wasn't really stressed out about not being able to eat. I really wasn't hungry. And that's the case a lot with, or at least my experience, that I eat, but I eat more like because we have to eat. And I just didn't feel hungry very often. And but I was still able to eat what I needed to eat. And so there was no concern about not eating breakfast or anything like that. And so the timing really worked out. And because obviously, I mean, if the call would have come in the middle of the night, you're kind of tired and you got to get up, but obviously you're getting up for a good reason. So I kind of got lucky, the call coming in when it did. I was up, I was alert, and right after I got through running my errands, perfect timing. Just pulled into the driveway. So I unloaded the groceries, got the cold stuff in the fridge. And at that moment is when I made a video. I made a short video, about a 3-4 minute video. And I made, I think, 2 videos that day. I made a video right after I got in the house and put the cold food in the fridge. And then I made another video during the drive to the hospital. So I made 2 videos that day. And I think I might have made a third one at the hospital. I'm not sure. But definitely 2. And so I went, after I made that short video, I went upstairs, woke up my wife, and well, she was already up, but she was just kind of moseying around upstairs. And I said, honey, we got to go to the hospital. And she asked, what's wrong? And I looked at her and I said, they just called me. They said they have a kidney for me. And she kind of like it got in rush mode. And I said, we're okay. Just take our time. And I told him I'd be there in about 20 minutes. She said, okay, okay. And my wife is very particular. She doesn't like to leave the room or the home until her face is clean, and like ladies are, they want to have their hair done. And so she didn't quite have that opportunity other than just to get dressed. I packed a light bag. I'm the type who travels lightly, and it wasn't much, just a backpack, a few little things. So I don't think I spent more than 5 minutes packing. And one thing that I did do is I had a backpack sort of semi-ready. I knew I'd get the call, so I made a short list of what I absolutely need to bring with me to the hospital. And I kept it in my phone in a little file. And I opened up that file, and I think it was just half a dozen or so things. I recall it was my back warmer that I use. Feels good on my back. And because I remember when I stayed at the hospital when I had my kidneys removed, I didn't like their back warmer. So I have my own. It's just that back warmer they have, probably $1,000. This one here I paid $20 for it at Walmart. More comfortable. So I remembered I'm going to bring my own back warmer. And I remember I wanted an extension cord, just like a 10-foot extension cord, because the outlets are 6 feet behind me. So one of those extension cords with 3 outlets, because I needed all 3 outlets. And one for my phone charger, one for my laptop charger, and one for this back warmer. And so I remember months prior, I went and bought one and just kept it in the backpack, knowing when I would need it. And so, and my hairbrush, I have a pair of wireless earbuds. I had those, and I brought these with me too, these wired ones, and I ended up never even using them. Never used them. I just watched the TV in the room. Never used them. And because the entire time I spent a total of 76 hours in the hospital, it was just 76 hours of awe. I never got bored to where I had to entertain myself with my phone or laptop. Just being there was entertaining enough. I remember one point a nurse walked in and said, you can turn the TV on if you want. Because I didn't have the TV on. I said, oh, ma'am, I'm just fine. I'm just so happy to be here. I was definitely caught up in the moment, the emotions in me, everything that was going through my mind. 3.5 years doing dialysis, all the work I put in, after I had my kidneys removed and I healed up, I learned from that surgery that a strong core is very important, because when they did that incision on my kidney, on my abdomen, it was extremely sore. I mean, extremely sore. It took all my strength just to rise up out of bed. And I learned I got to strengthen up my core. I got to make that core rock solid. And it benefited me. And I remember, in addition, I said, I got to make my legs strong. Because after they did the nephrectomy, that's what they call it, removing kidneys. I remember when they had me stand up, get up out of the bed, which, oh my God, that was so hard. And they had me stand up. That was so hard. And I said to myself, I need my core and legs to be strong. I mean, just rock strong as I can make them. And it took 6 months for my core to truly heal. Then I went to the gym almost every single day, 3 hours. And 1 hour on a treadmill, jogged 5 miles. And then I worked my core like a madman. Developed a six-pack. I mean, I'm sorry, but I need to do this for myself. But I mean, I've never been built like this. Never in my life. I don't know if I'll maintain this, but I will try. But my wife is moving fast. I gave her the news. We got to get to the hospital right now. It took me 5 minutes to pack my bag. I already had my little list, on my phone. I pulled it up, and it wasn't much, but it was all I needed. Well, I thought I needed. I never even used my laptop. Never. I used my phone for a few phone calls, but never used my laptop. But I'm glad I bought that back warmer. And I remember them commenting on it, the staff at the hospital. They're like, "Oh, you brought your own back warmer. You were prepared." I said, "Yeah, that one you guys have, it's just not as comfortable as this cheap one right here." And she laughed. And so, but my wife drove me to the hospital. But I could have driven myself, but my mind was so occupied in the moment. I told my wife, I said, "You drive to the hospital." And she was nervous. She was nervous. And I said, "Take your time. We're just 10 minutes away." And simple drive to get there. It's nothing much. You don't have to drive. I think the top speed you could even go is 45 miles per hour. And we weren't rushing, had plenty of time. And we got at the hospital at 11:30. And they told me the building, and they said, "Go on the 10th floor." And so my wife dropped me off because she wasn't like properly dressed. She was wearing flip-flops, and it was snowing that day. A little bit of snow, not much, but a little bit. And so she just drove up to the door and dropped me off. I told her, "Don't worry." She wanted to come back to the hospital, and I said, "No, no, go to work. I'll be fine. I'm getting a transplant. I mean, you won't be able to see me." And so just go to work, come home, do your normal routine, and then the next morning you can come by. I'll be back in my room. Because I was already told the surgery takes around 1 or 2 hours. And they said most likely 1 hour. And then they told me after the surgery, they like to keep the patient in the surgical room for an additional 2 hours just to observe. And so I remember I left. They wheeled me out of my room at about 6:20. And when they woke me up, they're shaking my arm. "Hey, wake up." It was 10:20. So exactly 4 hours I was out of my room. And but I remember during that, from 11:30 till surgery time, they were walking in another room. checking my temperature. They draw another little bit of blood, getting me connected. I still have the bruises. I don't know if you can see here. So when they stuck me right there, so you can still see a little bit of, yeah, bruising right there. And I think that, yeah, a little bit, I don't know if you'd see it or not, but just a little bit right there. So they stuck me in several places to administer various medications. And right about 30 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes before they wheeled me out of my room, they gave me a couple pills to take. And within 10 minutes, it made me throw up. And I threw up right here on my lap. But it was just water. It was nothing. And one pill actually came out. And I remember the surgeon, not the surgeon, but I guess the nurse. He's a nurse. I don't know what his um, actual title is, but he was anxious. He wanted to know which pill came out. And he looked at it. He said, okay, that one's okay. That's not really an important pill. And I went, okay. But yeah, just within 10 minutes, I told him. He wheeled me in front of the elevators, and I said, I feel like I'm going to throw up. And he said, it's okay. And I said, I'm going to throw up here on my lap. He said, well, wait, let me go get a waste bag. And so he walked away, and I was by myself in front of the elevators. And then by the time he came back, I'd already, I mean, it wasn't much. Like I said, I hadn't eaten until like about 10 p.m., 10:30 the previous night. So my stomach was empty, but it was just a little bit of water and one pill. And I said, hey, a pill. I threw up a pill. He said, let me see. Oh, I need to see it. Which one? And he said, oh, that one's okay. So he gave me two pills. The important one stayed down. The unimportant one came out. So I look at little things like that, how it's lucky. Like, I guess, I mean, if I'd have thrown up the important pill, he'd just give me another one. I don't know what that is, how that works. But yeah, it was weird how I immediately reacted to whatever pill he gave me. And soon after I threw up, I felt great. Oh, I feel great now. And so he had to pick up those blankets and haul them off and bring back clean blankets for me. And so a little minor event. And but I just remember when I got there at 11, they walked me to my room and they said, here, change out. I changed out and I'm just sitting there. TV was off and I wasn't bored at all, not for a minute. Just sitting in a hospital room by myself, no TV. I wasn't on my phone. And because I didn't want to quickly contact people about me getting this kidney. Because there's no guarantee, although there's a high percentage it'll work, but there's no 100% guarantee. So I was hesitant. I didn't notify anyone. The only person I notified was my buddy who I was set to meet Monday. As soon as I got off the phone, I immediately texted my buddy and said, hey, I just got a call. They got a kidney for me, so I'm not going to be able to meet you Monday. He replied, all right, go ahead. That's cool, man. And good luck and all that. And so he was actually the only one. And then I think that's right, he contacted one of my neighbors, Scott, and said, hey, Dakota's on his way to the hospital. They got a kidney for him. And then I remember receiving a text from Scott, and he congratulated me. But I was hesitant, to be excited. I was holding in because I don't want to be let down. I hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And then Scott, he loves to talk to everyone. I started getting several text messages because he immediately told everyone. You talk about a guy who couldn't keep a secret. That's him. He can tell the whole neighborhood. So I started receiving several text messages from people congratulating me on this kidney that I haven't even received yet. But I understand the excitement. But I was holding back, and I'm still holding back now. It's been 2.5 weeks. I'm still holding back now, and I'm just following the treatment plan and hoping it works out. And but that morning, I just that was just an amazing experience, because it's like the last 3 years of my life just flashed back, and that's pretty much what from 11:30 to 6:20. So almost 7.5 hours sitting in a room, no TV on, never opened up my tablet, didn't watch anything on YouTube, on my phone, or didn't listen to music, just sat there. And even when the nurse said, "You can turn on the TV," I said, "I don't need that." I'm just, so much was going through my mind. And it's like so much was, all the past years was playing through my mind. And it's all I could think about. I mean, I guarantee you there would have been nothing on TV that would have interested me more than my thoughts. Nothing. I mean, it could have been the Super Bowl game on, and I'd have just been sitting there. And so that sitting there for 7 hours and 20 minutes, that was a kind of a blessing. Just the time to sit there quietly and think. And because, like I said, the surgery was set for 5 p.m., but it ended up being later, which it happens. And I remember during probably about, I don't know, I guess maybe 2 or 3 hours sitting in the room, one of the medical staff members came in, and she told me the kidney was from a young person, and it's being flown in from the state of Washington. And that blew me away. I'm like, what? It's in an airplane right now. She says, yes. And then the flight is set to land at 4:30. And as soon as there's confirmation of a landing, our own courier will go over there and pick it up and bring it back here. And I said, so like a medical courier? She said, yeah. Because I actually knew someone who was a medical courier, and that was her career. And she loved it. And so, what she said, yeah, and I was in Washington State, and I went, oh, that was an amazing bit of information. And I did ask if about the deceased, and they can't really reveal anything, and everything is private. And I said, okay. But they were able to reveal that it was a significantly young person. They wouldn't even give me the gender. I mean, not that it matters, but you want to know every little bit of information that you can get your hands on, get your brain on. And they wouldn't even reveal the gender. Not that it matters, but just something to know. But I'm guessing, because they said the person was very young, and they told me the kidney was a perfect match. Because not all kidney transplants are perfect matches. I think there are markers, they call them, and the perfect match is 6 out of 6 markers. And it's possible to get a kidney that has 4 out of 6 markers. But they said mine's a perfect match, 6 out of 6. And they commented, even the lady on the phone who from Florida commented on how healthy of a kidney it is, and versus a kidney from, say, someone who died in their 60s or 70s. And because I read that the oldest living donor was a 92-year-old lady, donated her kidney. And she had to have been in very good shape for them to allow her to be a donor. She must have been in exceptional shape, because normally people that old, they don't want to put them under because they're afraid they're never going to wake up. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made her sign a waiver of some sort that the family wouldn't sue, and that she's doing this on her own free will. But a 92-year-old lady, the oldest living donor, and I don't know what country this took place in, so I know a lot of other countries, they're relaxed on things. And so I don't know. I'd be happy to get any kidney, but I don't think I'd be excited if I found out it was from a 90-something-year-old person. It just wouldn't make me confident. So, but I don't know how that works, if a 92-year-old kidney could continue in me for whatever, 20, 30 years or whatever. How, I don't know if that's possible. And so, but yeah, they said I was very lucky at getting a young, healthy kidney. Yeah. But yeah, my wife drove me and dropped me off in front of building 5. I walked up to the 10th floor, checked in, and surgery went well. And I think it was 10:20 p.m. when they woke me up, and they came back to my room. It was about 3:30, and they wanted to see if I could get up out of bed. And I did. It wasn't that hard. I mean, I felt the soreness, obviously, a large incision. But because of the work that I put in building up my core, I'm convinced that's why it was so easy to get out of bed. It felt like I just spent the day before doing a very serious core exercise. And that's what it felt like. I didn't feel like I had surgery. And then when I stood up, they asked if I could take a step forward onto the scale. They wanted my weight. And so to be safe, I asked for a walker. I said, and I put my hands on the walker and just kind of stepped forward. I slowly let go of the walker. My balance was there. And then I stepped up onto the scale. And then I stepped back off of the scale. And they asked, how do you feel? Are you dizzy? No. Are you nauseous? No. Any pain? They did the 10 scale on a scale of 1 to 10. I'd say, well, 2, maybe a 3. I can definitely feel the incision, where they did the cut, but I could not describe it as pain. It was soreness. And to me, soreness isn't pain, it's soreness. And I said, okay. And so she said, would you like to walk around out of the room? We'll go all the way around the building, inside the building, but it's like a big square. and to walk all the way around? And I said, yes. And so I'm still attached, got these needles in me with IV lines. And so I'm holding a pole, rolling it. Well, actually, she did it. She said, no, let me take care of this. You just focus on walking. And it was me and it was two nurses. And us three walked together. And how do you feel? You doing good? You okay? Are you dizzy? They kept checking in, making sure. And I said, no dizziness. I'm good. And they said, well, you're walking really well. And that's when I started having conversation with them. I said, well, I've been training for this very moment. What kind of training have you been doing? And I told them about my 3-hour daily exercise regimen almost every day, not every day, but almost every day. But every day I went to the gym. At the very minimum, I would go to the gym and jog 5 miles on the treadmill and walk out. That was a day off for me. That's how high I built up my bar. And I told her, she said, what? And I told her how much time I spent working my core muscles and my legs for this very moment. And because I explained that we use our core muscles to get up out of bed, and then obviously leg muscles to walk. So I was at that moment enjoying the fruits of my labor. And she said, this is the second time in my career I have ever seen someone walk this good after a kidney transplant. And I remember the other staff, the younger staff members, younger nurses, they were like, what? He had a transplant just a matter of hours ago? And they were like, yes. And the younger staff members had never seen it before, but this older staff member, she'd seen it once before. So I was the second time she'd seen it. She said, this is amazing. You're not dizzy, you're not nauseous. I wasn't holding on to anything. And because usually when people first start to walk, they hold on to that IV pole for balance. But I didn't. She was managing the IV pole, rolling it with me. And we went all the way around. And I felt like I could have done another lap. They said, no, just one. That's all we want right now, just one. And so I went back, lie down in bed. And it got better. I remember when the bag that collects the urine, it was dark red. But it was producing urine. And the next morning it was pink. And the next day it was pretty much clear. And so, yeah, that is the call experience. I mean, you know it's going to happen. You know it. But when it does happen, at least me, I was freaked out. It was an awe moment. It was a wow moment. Even though I knew it was going to happen, it still freaked me out when it happened. And it's weird because they tell you, it's going to happen soon. And you get to a point, at least I did, that I would sort of dismiss it like, okay, yeah, it's going to happen soon. I mean, one of the things that kind of made me jaded was that they said, "Oh, you have a kidney in 2 years." Here we are, more than 3 years later. So I'd entered a phase where I was built up, then let down. And so when they told me at the dialysis center that you're going to get the call, it's going to happen soon, I was dismissive of it. And because I was really excited, I had like a timer set, a 2-year timer. And then when it didn't happen, I kind of got sad, but I didn't lose hope. I was sad because they were so positive that I had one in 2 years. But I still knew I'd get a call eventually. And when it didn't happen in 2 years, I started to think that I might have to wait 5 years. And I geared up my mind for that 5-year wait. And so that's my memory. And if I ever forget what happened, I can pull up this video and relive my memory. Over and out.